Hey, I'm Dr. Susanna Bozzoni, and we're going to talk about the amygdala today. What is that? This is a little almond-shaped structure in your brain that helps you sense danger. So let's say you just heard a really loud noise, right? What do? You flinch because it bypasses everything to just activate that fight and flight response. It's this amazing protective structure. But then hopefully you recognize, I just dropped my water bottle, no big deal. So then your prefrontal cortex comes into your brain and says, we cool, there's nothing to be afraid of. I can evaluate whether or not we truly have an emergency here. And I understand that we are not in danger. Cool. But maybe some of us have experienced an overactive amygdala, meaning, I am sensing danger all the time. I am in a state of anxiety or panic, or maybe even I have PTSD, so that these things cultivate this really overactive amygdala response, and I am chronically in that fight or flight state. Well, if you have struggled with that before, you know that you cannot access your rational brain during a time of high stress, like panic, let's say. And so what's actually happening, particularly if we perceive ongoing stress and our cortisol is high, our norepinephrine is high, all these fight and flight neurotransmitters and hormones and whatnot, and so we're in this fight response, well, that actually impedes the blood flow to our prefrontal cortex. What does that mean? Well, that means we actually cannot access our rational thought for multiple reasons, including decreased blood flow. So what are two little tips that you can use to get you out of that hyperactive amygdala response? Well, number one, you've probably heard you've got to name it to tame it. And I think that's so powerful. In fact, there were studies that showed that if you just name the emotions that you have, I have fear, I feel anxious, right? I feel angry, whatever that is, it actually enables your brain to move it from the amygdala, that danger detector, into the prefrontal cortex where we can begin to have more rational thought around it. So number one, you got to name it to tame it. Take the time to actually assess what the emotions you're feeling are. That's pretty cool. Number two, get in nature. That's why I'm here. Get in nature. There was one really cool study out of Germany that showed two groups of people, and they brought them in and they showed them a lot of stress-provoking images. How great, right? And then they did a functional magnetic resonance imaging. So they did a functional MRI to look at their brain while they were looking at these stressful imaging, and they showed very high amygdala activity, right? Then they sent two different groups. So they did that. They sent them on a walk for an hour. But one of the groups went in nature in this forest in Germany, and the other one went on a walk in an urban setting. So walking kind of around malls and shops and whatever, but pavement, right? Not green space. And what they found was that those that walked for an hour in the forest, in green space, in nature, had a significantly lower amygdala response after repeating the same stressful images. So it got them out of that hyperactive stress response significantly more than did walking for an hour in an urban setting. So maybe you get out in nature, maybe you go unplugged, maybe you really take time to be and incorporate your senses in nature, the practice of forest bathing we've talked about before, but see what that does. And what if you do that on a regular basis, even just 5 minutes, maybe 17 minutes a day? So much benefit can be found with this practice that hopefully is accessible to everyone. So I hope this helps. Remember that nature is where birds fly uncooked, according to Oscar Wilde. It doesn't have to be far away. It doesn't have to be a national park or anything extravagant. You can find it. This is my yard, right? You can go and find it. Please do that for yourself. Thanks so much. I hope this helps you today.